Uh, Hello. I know it's been a while, but I thought it might be fun to do a little flick through of the drawings that I did this year for Inktober. This year, I decided to follow the Pitch Canker prompts. If you don't know Pitch Canker's work, he's a really cool illustrator from America whose work I really like. There'll be links all over the show. I set myself some rules as well for this year's prompts, so I only worked on A6 using Liquitex Noir Black ink. I had an ink wash at my disposal and the original opaque, and then a couple of dip pens and brushes. So I wanted to be monochrome, pure ink. So yeah, those were my rules. Um, whether I was successful or not, um, that remains to be seen. So what's going to come now is a flick through of all 31 drawings and kind of my thought process on all of them, which I thought would be, quite fun to share. So the Pitch Canker challenge started with Scarecrow, and this is what I ended up doing. I With all of these, I kind of tried to avoid doing what was expected, kind of the obvious. So I ended up looking into the iconography of various words, and that'll become a theme, I guess. And for this, I kind of found this. I think it was Mesopotamian. Something should come up now of the image that I kind of lifted this motif from. I think it's a pretty good start to Inktober. It's very kind of typical of kind of what I would do doodle wise. I've chosen to do all of these quite small as well, which is quite nice, quite quick. Yeah, so day two was Hex. And I got really into the idea of the whole Matthew Hopkins Witchfinder General kind of idea here. So I tried to do that image of kind of a Puritan witch hunter who had been cursed or hexed, and this ties into kind of like something that will probably be a common theme throughout a lot of these drawings is kind of the use of mask and clown iconography in my drawings. Yeah, I'm really happy with this one. This is day three, which was meant to be Harvest, but I got my prompts mixed up. So this is actually Jack-o'-lantern, which should be day four, but I accidentally did it on day three. And this is probably the first one in the series of drawings that I think went really well. I don't typically draw very cute things, but I think this one turned out really nicely. I wanted to get a turtleneck on him because it's quite autumnal, I think, and he looks so excited for Halloween, which I think is really fun. I think this is one of the most successful drawings from Inktober. This was then Harvest, which was meant to be day three, but I did as day four. If you grew up in the UK, then Harvest meant one thing, and that was bringing tins of stuff to school in order to, give them to the community as a little kind of goodwill thing. So I thought it kind of links to a Anthony Horowitz story that I read as a kid, where this guy collects tins and he opens one day and there's like a human thumb in there. So I thought something coming out of it would be good. I think in my original sketching of this, I did have a tiny pair of eyes, but it just didn't look right. And I was trying to work out like the biology. I mean, not to like a good degree, because obviously it's someone coming out of a tin. When I posted this on Instagram, one of my friends pointed out that the label would actually end just before the L, so rather than being plums like I wanted, it's a tin of lums. So you win some, you lose some. Day five was cornucopia, and as with a lot of them, I wanted to get away from the traditional kind of Greek imagery of the cornucopia, which is that horn overflowing with fruit. So I thought I wanted to keep that overflowing with like grapes, but I thought coming out of kind of this almost eldritch kind of infinite more, I took a bit of inspiration from some Francis Bacon stuff with this, because why not when these are like quick kind of. I think the longest one of these took was 2 hours, but we'll get to that. I think this was probably about 20 minutes. Most of these will be about 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes at max. I'm pretty happy with this one. I think it's got good depth to it. I think layering my ink washes went quite well for this background, and almost this kind of faux vignette kind of effect that I've got. This is Cemetery. It's one of, I think, only 2 landscape drawings in the whole series, and I think it's okay. I think it's kind of typical for what I do illustration wise. I think it's a good idea. I just don't think I executed it particularly well. I think it just lacks detail. But I like the idea of this kind of giant creature in a cemetery. It is doing an Alas Poor Yorick, just a real dumb Shakespeare reference to throw in here, and it doesn't really make sense as this is like a non-human thing. So yeah, maybe not my best effort through Inktober, but I think a good idea executed badly. This is for Leaves. This actually got shared by someone on Instagram as one of their favourites from the day, and I'll say it's lovely. I think it's another case similar to Cemetery of a good idea executed badly. I just think, for example, like the detailing on the wood, I don't think that really comes across as like a wood grain. Neither does like the little darker flecks within his hair. I just think it needs a few more layers and a few more bits of detailing, perhaps. You can tell that I've been playing a lot of Hollow Knight recently as well, because that's like the whole mask image and the white eyes. Like, yeah. Hibernation. My first instinct was to do some kind of bear for this, but I felt like that would there'll be a lot of bears. So I was thinking of other things that hibernate, and obviously there's like frogs, and I think like weevils hibernate as well. There's some insects that like allow themselves to freeze. And then my mind kind of went to Jesus as a hibernating mammal, because obviously he spent apparently 3 days dead. So this is a bit of goes back to some stuff that I was doing a few years back about like religious iconography. I mean, I think it's fun. I think this is probably the only piece that I would put into colour. Perhaps I think colour would really add to this. Day 9. This is Bat. I've been a fan of Batman for a long time. I think it's that's pretty standard fare for most humans. So I wanted to give a go at doing a Batman drawing, and I think I did okay. I think I wanted to do something dark on a dark background. I think that's very hard to do working monochrome as I am. Yeah, again, those kind of Francis Bacon-y kind of teeth. I think there's a Batman comic from, I believe, the 90s where Batman's a vampire, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring in with this. But I think this is a middle kind of success. Day 10, Ghost. I'm not happy with this one personally. I think it, just like the Cemetery, it is a good idea executed badly. I wanted to show like the spirit of someone above their own body, but I just think it was a bit at odds with itself. I just don't think it was executed as well. It's certainly an image that I'd like to try again at some point. And certainly it's not like the last time I'm going to play with this kind of imagery. I just think maybe the layout's a bit wrong, a bit off. Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, one of them took 2 hours, and this is the 2-hour drawing. This is for Candle, and I was kind of brought in by the image of the Hand of Glory, which is a thief's hand that grants invisibility to the bearer. But typically that's viewed as like a fist holding the candle, or maybe the fingers are candles. I wanted to do one where the candle was like embedded in the palm of the hand. And this was done off a reference image I took of my own hand, which should appear on screen now, I guess. And I'm very happy with this. I think this turned out really well. I think the light on it works well, the shadowing works well. It looks like a hand, which makes me very happy because hands are very tricky and I'm not very good at still life or hyper realistic drawing or any kind of realism, so I'm very pleased with this. This is for day 12, Eyeball, and this I've drawn a lot of Cyclopses, and this is a continuation of that. I took inspiration from, I think he's called Polyphemus, from the Odyssey. They famously take out his eye to escape, and I'm very happy with this. I think it goes away from the realism that I was doing for Candle, and I like the light effect in the hair. I think that works quite well. This is one that if I was going to add colour, I'd maybe do some blues as part of the shadowing, or maybe use like a very thin blue as a highlight. I think that would be interesting. But the eye detail itself, I don't think is my best work, but I think overall this piece is really good, and I like the fact you can see the fused eyelids in the shadows of his sockets. I think that's I'm quite happy with that. I think that's quite cool. Feast. This is another one that I'm very happy with. Ties into my love of masks as ever. I like the idea of the idea was like mountains of rotting food behind this skeletal figure wearing the mask of someone who eats very well. You can look into that as much as you want, but yeah, I thought that was just like a cool image to have, and yeah, I think it came out quite well. I think I maybe should have erased some of these pencil lines. I don't know if they're showing up on camera, but some of the pencil lines don't really aid this kind of image, but I think it turned out really well. I'm very happy with this. And almost in the opposite direction, this is Witchcraft, and I'm not happy with this. I just think, as with some of the others, it's been like a good idea executed poorly. I just think this is sloppy. Personally, I think this is quite a lazy idea, especially when I've been wanting to do something a bit different from the norm. I think this is it just feels a bit obvious to me. This is Owl. I've recently been re-watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, so I decided to do a drawing of Wan Shi Tong, and I'm very, very happy with this. I think this may be one of the best from this series. Yeah, there's just a lot that I'm very happy with this about. The shading, the shapes. The reference image had him facing the other way, but I don't know why I drew him facing this way, but I know it works, and I'm very pleased with this. I think this is a very strong drawing. I'm particularly proud of the feathering detail in the shading. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. There's another one that I'm very happy with. This is Slasher, and I thought it'd be funny to have a murderous Muppet. Purely for my own amusement. This is one that I think my mum called this one Almost Cute. And yeah, I mean, if he wasn't holding an axe, I think he would be very cute. He's got that little kind of, almost like a barbershop or a soda fountain kind of uniform, you know? Which I think is quite nice. I like his big nose and his black eyes. I think it's generally quite funny. Exorcist. I think I got this one wrong. In short, basically, I think this one could have been shown a bit better. The idea was a statue of the Virgin Mary being haunted by this eldritch creature that I've drawn this creature before. Yeah, and I don't know, it turned out, I mean, I think it's a good drawing. I just think I've not worked into it enough. I think I kind of gave up, and yeah, I think this could have been really good. I think I probably did this after work one day, and I just didn't have the energy to really embed a background. I think a background would have done a lot for this drawing. Possession. You see, when I did this, I wasn't very happy with it, but looking at it now, Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. This sort of skeletal figure, kind of um, possessed by these creatures. Um, I think this, I think this kind of turned out quite well. But I think I really played it safe for this as well. I really lent into what I've done before and what I know I can do really well, rather than going for something that's a bit riskier. Perhaps I think that's probably what I did here, which is lazy, but also I don't think necessarily a bad thing all the time to lean into what you know. I really like the way around his eyes look as well. I think I might do that again in future. I probably have done it in some of the drawings that follow this. So this is day 19. This is Alter. This is another one that is a cool idea that I don't think I executed particularly well. I just think this piece requires more technical abilities than I currently have to get looking how I want it to. But the idea was this kind of giant spirit of the forest, Wendigo type thing, being summoned by a priest in a derelict church. It's the kind of thing that would work really nicely as a diorama or a sculpture, that kind of thing. For the image here, for this priest, I actually used a reference image of Judge Claude Frollo during the song Hellfire from Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. I don't know how I think that should be pretty recognisable. To be fair, it's kind of exactly how he's posed, which is quite fun. But yeah, I think this is one that I wouldn't mind revisiting in a couple of years once I've maybe developed some further skills. Now this is Mushroom, and I think this is really funny. This is kind of the sole reason I drew it like this is, especially with the elections coming up, there's a lot of those kind of headshots of politicians where it's like a guy in a suit, and I just thought a bundle of mushrooms in a suit was quite a funny image. This mushroom looks a lot like a strawberry, but it is meant to be like a death cap, kind of that thing. And for reference images for this, I just googled bunch of mushrooms and just put together what I thought worked. I'm very happy with this, and I think it's really funny. And sometimes that's all you really need to do, is a drawing that you think is funny. So day 21, this is dark. I really struggled to think of what to do for this, because dark is such a broad idea. And then what came to me was the fact that Leonard Cohen's kind of last album before he died was You Want It Darker. So I thought just doing a shadow drawing of Leonard Cohen would be quite interesting. So I just took a photograph of him and just drew the shadows, which always looks cool. It is lazy, but it always looks cool. So I don't think that's really a problem. I think it's nice to have this amongst this kind of collection of drawings. Rake. Now this was a tricky one, because I didn't want to just draw a rake, like a garden rake. So I was googling, and I found out that there's like an urban myth about a creature called the rake. I think it's more of an American thing rather than an English thing, and yeah, so I decided to give a go at that, and it's fine. I think it's fine. It's not going to stand out in this collection, but I think it's okay. I think it's it's a decent drawing. There's nothing that I think is terribly awful about it. I didn't really think through the pose. And giving him these kind of crossed hands, it kind of makes him look kind of sweet, like he's kind of almost like he's a bit anxious and a bit shy, which I think is quite adorable, which I didn't foresee when I was doing it. I saw it more as kind of like a rubbing his hands menacingly, but it kind of turns out that looks quite, when that's stationary, it looks quite anxious. This is Crow, so day 23. And I based this off of two reference images. Firstly, Maleficent's Raven from the original Sleeping Beauty. And then also, I didn't realise I was doing this at the time, Velociraptor, which is a mid-2000s meme. It's kind of that pose, and I guess this is the natural evolution of it. I did use, there's an artist that tattoo artist that I really like called Affanita, I believe it is, on Instagram. There'll be a link somewhere about them. To get this claw, because I've never drawn a bird foot before, and I'm quite happy with it. I think that's quite cool. This is another one where I think the layering turned out really well. The way I did this is I got my wash down, and then I just did straight Liquitex black. The background maybe could have been layered a few more times, but I think this is already about 6 layers. And with this not being the highest grade of paper, I did what I could with the time I had. Yeah, so this is day 24, this is Moon, and I'm very, very pleased about this. This is, I originally started this as a nod to Noel Fielding as the Moon in the Mighty Boosh, and then it also became a nod to the Moon in Majora's Mask, which, you know, as far as terrifying images of moons goes, that's pretty good. I like the idea of this giant smiling moon looking down over this, again, kind of Hollow Knight-y town. It's kind of termite, but this is how I've done a lot of buildings in past pieces, and I think, yeah, I think this is pretty good, and pretty funny to have this giant Noel Fielding Majora's Mask moon going on. Yeah, I'm very happy. This is Bones, this is day 25, and I've completely blanked on the name of it, but I was looking into skeletons and I found out about a yokai, a Japanese, I think I'm pronouncing that probably completely wrong, but a Japanese bit of folklore about this giant skeleton that lures in travellers and devours them. It's referenced in the film Kubo and the Two Strings, which I used a bit as a reference material here. And I think he's funny. I think he's fallen into that trap that a lot of the early animations had, where the skeletons just look really cheerful rather than menacing. I think that was a surprise to me alongside other people. Yeah, as a reference image for this, I actually used a online mannequin tool, which I'll have a link to somewhere, that I found really helpful. I'm not very good at pulling poses out off the top of my head, so that was really good in getting this hand right and getting all of this kind of, yeah. It was, this I'm really happy with. But I do think he looks a bit too cheerful. 26 is Cobweb. I did not spend a lot of time with this, and I wish I had, but because I wanted these like spider's eyes looking out between 2 books, and I am a bit arachnophobic, so I didn't want to spend a lot of time drawing a spider, and I think the drawing suffered really. I think it looks very flat. I don't think there's a lot of depth to it, which is a shame. I think it's another case of good idea, bad execution, which might as well be the tagline for this video. Yeah, there's not much that I'm really too pleased of. It isn't the worst in the lot, that one is coming up, but it's certainly not high up. So this is grotesque, and I wish I'd looked forward through the prompts, because I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was this guy surrounded by loads of masks, and that would be quite grotesque, quite horrifying. I was looking into, like, again, Japanese grotesque masks. There's a parade, I believe, that happens. And again, a little bit of a Majora's Mask reference. A game which, I should say, I've never played. But I'm really happy with this. I love this effect that I managed to get of... I basically did not paint where these are, and then just did one big black wash on the back, and that really, I think that gave them these kind of ghostly looks. I think this turned out really nicely, even if I did forget some of my lines down here, because I drew this mask like a big bell kind of bottom, and then was like, oh no, the bottom of the jaw's this bit, and it was not. So there's some, if you look closely here, there's some bits where doesn't really make that much sense. This is Haunting. This is another one that I think turned out really well. This also, so this was a reference image that I used from an opera about ghosts. I'll put up the reference image kind of now. And I wanted to get these kind of cartoony ghosts haunting this kind of old woman, and I think this turned out really well. I kind of built on the wash technique that I did with the last one, and I think I think this works. I think maybe I could have done some of these details a bit better, but I just think it works. I think it's a good image. This ghost, I'm not too happy with. I think his mouth looks strange, and I would maybe redo that mouth differently if I had the chance. But overall, I think this is pretty good. Yeah. This is Mask, and I hate it. This is the worst drawing of the lot. When I saw that day 29 had the prompt of Mask, yeah, I realised that I'd really screwed myself over by doing masks for number 27, and I found this image of this groaning mask. I was like, it'd be cool to do a close-up with these eyes. Nothing about it worked. So this is bad. I will say, this is bad art. So I'm happy to kind of relegate that to being just bad. There's just a lot that's not good about it, including like the hard line on this shadow here from the nose, which makes these look like a pair of weird rabbit teeth. It's just generally not my finest work, I think. And I think we can all agree that it's best forgotten. So day 30, this is Trick. And I wanted to do a guy handing out insects. So I found a reference image of a guy holding loads of sweets, and I kind of copied that and made it a bit more hollow looking. I noticed this was meant to be like a bit of underlip shading. Actually, I think it's a bit of ink that's trying on. Yeah. Now it just looks like he's got a labret piercing. But yeah, I think this is fine. After the travesty that was yesterday, I think this is quite a good point to be on. And then finally, we have day 31, Treat. And I just thought it was appropriate to do Lock, Shock and Barrel from Night Before Christmas. I've drawn them before in designs, so it wasn't too difficult to get their shapes right. She doesn't look quite right though, does she? These two, yeah, this works. I'm now realising that I don't know which way round the names go. But she doesn't look quite right, and I think that's down to her mouth. But I think as far as an end goes, this is, fine. So yeah, that's all 31 drawings.
Hello. I know that was long, and thank you for sticking around if you've made it to this point in the video. It's long, I know. Hopefully I'm going to have more stuff coming out over the next few weeks. I'm working on a few covers. There's going to be a tour of this new space that I'm in. Even there's not much to show, but there'll be a tour. So if you want to see any of that, subscribe. There will be more coming. Until next time, yeah, that's it. It's not really, there might be some stuff on screen kind of now, probably something over my face. That's about, yeah.